has become our custom when we gather as one, let us pay our respects to the traditional owners of this land, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. I have checked protocols and it seems there is no reason why we can't say this together. So as a mark of respect, can I ask you all please to stand? And as we say this, can we keep in mind our Indigenous people, their struggles and hopes for the future? Together we say, we acknowledge these original owners whose cultures and customs have nurtured and continue to nurture this land, since men and women awoke from a great dream. We honour the presence of these ancestors who reside in the imagination of this land and whose irrepressible spirituality flows through all of creation. Amen. Thank you. It is wonderful that we have all arrived safely from our travels, and I hope, like me, you're feeling a little bit excited about the prospect of our work together in the next few days. We thank you for making the commitment and the effort to be here, but also for leaving your loved ones at home and the busyness of your world of work behind, so that you can dedicate quality time to moments of discernment and reflection, to deep listening and genuine sharing, of personal stories and faith journeys, to convivial discourse, and hopefully some away time from the pressures of the everyday. We certainly are in a beautiful part of the world, I'm sure you would agree, where we hope that these things can be realised. There are others in our company who have ailing parents, who are here, but who might have to leave us as well. So with those in mind, and other people who I'm sure of ones I don't know who are carrying such worries for people back home, let us keep them in our prayer just for this moment. So just a moment of silence, let's think of Stephen and send him our strength and prayers as he makes that very lonely trip to Canberra. May perpetual light help Stephen in his journey and give him the courage to face what he has to face through Christ our Lord. Amen. So thank you to each of you for affirming the work that we do as Kildare Ministries. Present here today are representatives from every ministry at every level of senior management and governance. That is our 10 schools across Australia and our 3 community works, which actually provides us with an opportunity to formally welcome the Brigidine Asylum Seeker Project, who, as you know, has joined Kildare Ministries this year. So with us today we have Bridget Arthur, who most of you know as a trustee, but is also here as the coordinator of BASP, Margaret Hill and Cecilia Merrigan as BASP board members. So for their very first Kildare Ministries gathering, can we give them a welcome, please? Could I have a show of hands of the people who attended the first conference at Landsfield 2 years ago? Wow, that's a good show of hands. Can you keep them up? Can you look around to someone who hasn't got their hand up? Right, and it's your job, people with their hands up, to make welcome those who haven't got their hands up at some time between now and Lord Camille. So have you eyeballed someone? So I'll take a few more moments now to introduce the people who have made this conference possible, the conference committee. So with people, just because we're a small enough group, if you put your hands up please, and people, most of them, can see who you are. So Kathy McAvoy is the trustee up the back. Janet Cribbis, who's also, must be the up the back group, the chair of the board at Wellsprings. Brian Lockland, we've met Brian many times today, who's the Faith and Wellbeing Deputy Principal here at St Ives. Teresa Lincoln, up the front, Teresa. She's representing the principals of the KMEs. Andrew Grant, I'm sure most people know Andrew, standing up the back. And we were ably assisted, and whose help we could not have done without Monica Lang and Podrick McKay, who are sitting up the back, and who are our registrars this morning. Thank you for all your The Trustees of Kildare Ministries are our hosts over these 2 days. They are already familiar to many of you, I'm sure. But, you know, just for the occasion, let us introduce Marie Marsh and Rosemary Cope, also sitting up the front. Anne Aston, up the back. Now, this is Anne's first time here as trustee, who was appointed as the trustees in 2017. So, in her official title, thank you, Anne, for being here. Bridget Arthur, here up the front. Bridget. Kathy, we've already introduced. Nola Van Der Veen, up towards the back, and Vicky Ward up the front. So they've spread themselves nicely. The back here and the front here. That's great. We also welcome our Members' Council. Bernadette Keating is the acting chair while Louise Cleary is away, so thank you, Bernadette. Anne Boyd. There she was. A bit shy there to parade up towards the back. Chanel Sugden. Thank you, Chanel. Now, Shirley Gouchy, we congratulate Shirley on her new appointment as member of the Members' Council, also joining us for the first time, so congratulations, Shirley. Louise Cleary only last night sent us an email wishing us well, and she's in Ireland at the moment with her family after a well-deserved break, and she sent us quite a lengthy email hoping that everything goes well for us, so Louise Cleary is an apology. This year we invited colleagues and friends who are interested in our work and we in theirs, so that we may share the journey together. Some of them have come along. So it was with an absolute delight that we welcome our sister school, Brigidine College Randwick, who are here, obviously from Randwick. Kate Edmondson, there's a row here, Kate Edmondson as the principal, with her 3 other colleagues. Could you put your hands up, please? Let's give them a round of applause. And Kate, I'm sure you don't mind me sharing that this is your last few months as principal at Randwick. A new principal has been appointed. So it's particularly special that you're here with us, Kate, so thank you very much. We welcome Paul Desmond, who's sitting up the front here, Director of Catholic Education in Sandhurst, who's come to join us for a day and a half and leave us tomorrow, so thank you for coming, Paul. Tomorrow we will welcome Marita Williams from Dominican Education Australia and Anne Ferguson, who's the mission leader for the Mercy Sisters. They are coming for tomorrow's events only, so it'll be lovely for them to join us as well. We have a special welcome to CCI representatives, Paul Ong and Brett Richardson. Could you stand up, please? I think, let's give them a round of applause. Without their help and their financial sponsorship, perhaps we couldn't have had some of the nice things that are going to be developing in the conference, like really good guest speakers. So thank you so much for your support of us, Paul and Brett. So we've invited some people who couldn't come, and because they made a special attempt with their apologies, I'd like to acknowledge them. So we have from the Members' Council, Louise Cleary, I've already mentioned. The Brigidine Community of Victoria, Sister Anne Hill apologised on behalf of herself and the team. From the Presentation Community of Victoria, Helen Carboon. Audrey Brown and Neil McGorran, Directors of Catholic Education in Ballarat and Adelaide respectively. Julie Ryan, Joe McCarthy from Mara Schools Australia. Tom Renshaw from Jesuits Education. Chris Houlihan from Mercy Ed. And Paul Williams from EREA. So it was wonderful that they've made an effort to apologise to us and considered coming but couldn't with their full diaries. Dalal Smiley, who is the CEO of Wellsprings, unfortunately he's very unwell in terms of fluey unwell, and didn't sore ears and not really being able to make the trip. So she had to pull out at the last minute, so we keep her in our prayers as well. So, a special word of thanks to Anita Murray and Claire Keedy, who are sitting up the front here. They're here representing the Brigidine Sisters of New South Wales. They make an effort to pay attention to the work that we're doing. They're supportive of our conference. We appreciate your time and interest in what we're doing. And in acknowledgement for that, Anita, would you mind coming to receive a small gift so that you can share with the Brigidine leadership team as a vote of thanks? Thank you for coming and being so supportive. bit strange giving gifts before we've even started, Anita, but it's wonderful that you could be here. It's just that Anita and Claire can't be here for the whole time, so that's why we've acknowledged you today. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, a wonderful, warm thank you to Jane Curran, who's sitting up the back, for the wonderful, generous hospitality we've received today. Thank you, Jane. Ably supported, of course, with a team of people. Brian Loughlin has done a power of work to get us ready for this morning, so a special thank you to you, Brian. Most of us in schools know that with 70 plus people arriving on your doorstep on a normal school day, it takes a little bit of organising and rearranging car parks and times and getting the staff room free for us and the chapel. And so we know the work that goes into it, and behind the scenes, Vicky Scott, Jane's PA, has done enormous work, you know, the quiet work that the behind the scenes people do. So please, Jane, pass on our thanks to Vicky. So, with all those introductions and welcomes and thank yous, it is now time, ladies and gentlemen, that we, I've already got myself out of sync with my slides, oh no, not quite, that we introduce Rosemary Copeland and Marie Marsh, who will actually start the conference and open the conference officially for us. I know that you know Rosemary and Marie, but as a way of introduction, Rosemary Copeland has spent her whole career involved in education and educational leadership. She was Principal of St Joseph's in Echuca, Educational Consultant in the Diocese of Sale in Victoria, has held a number of voluntary positions on councils and boards. She was appointed as one of the original founding trustees, and in 2017 joined Marie as co-chair of the trustees. Marie Marsh was a novitiate here at Brigidine College St Ives, where we've just been, way back when the staff area, where we've just enjoyed hospitality, was in fact the convent. Is that right, Marie? Chapel. The chapel. Marie could probably still show which was her room. There are other people here who had their novitiate here, but I won't dob you in. So Marie has been the congregational leader of the Brigidines, and that's Brigidine speak for the head honcho, the international head honcho. And apart from her many years in schools, she has also been the founding member of the Truth, Justice and Healing Council, has supported women who have been trafficked, and is a member of the Australian Catholic Religious Against Trafficking Committee group, otherwise known as ACRAT. In 2014, she was appointed Trustees of Kildare Ministries and was the founding chair. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to our leaders, Rosemary and Marie, for opening work.
Thank you all for taking the time out. Rosemary and I endorse Erica's words and the generosity of coming together once again, and for some, for the first time. We're conscious of the days out of usual commitments. Sometimes that can be a good thing, but it's also, it can be a challenge. And Jane used the concept this morning of family, the Kildare Ministries family. And it was a warm fuzz, Jane, when you expressed it that way, because that is who we are. We're still on the way to becoming. And it was lovely to have the beginning by the welcome. I endorse, again, Erica's words. So 2 years ago, we had the inaugural conference, which was gathering together, lighting our way. And that inspired us in a number of ways. As people focused on the mission of God, we committed ourselves to being a voice in the church through lay leadership. We committed ourselves to inclusivity and diversity, and we remember the rich conversations and workshops that were held around those concepts. And we committed ourselves, amongst other things, to deepening the narrative of the Kildare Ministries story. And so that has happened in the 2 years. We're still in process, we're getting there, but we've come a long way in the 2 years. Now we come together under the banner of awakening the hope we share, which is inspired by the scripture from Hebrews. We have this hope as an anchor for the soul, firm and secure. And what a beautiful imagery of hope as an anchor. And my goodness, we need it. In the modern context, as we look around the world, we can witness the strength of hope. We think of the millions of people who leave their homelands in the hope of finding a place of safety and of peace. We think just a few weeks ago of the hope that the rescuers had in the boys in Thailand, and weren't we all inspired by them? Hope always has a purpose, and it is oriented towards a future. And it always sees a way out of difficulty, even when it is seemingly impossible. Each one of you, or all of us, give hope to the students and the guests in our community works in the way that you contribute to building hope in their lives, and in the myriad of ways that you accept and respect and receive difference. We also know that strength of hope can be squashed, and we only have to think of Australian context, Manus and Nauru, or the withdrawal of support for asylum seekers and refugees by our government, the lack of medical services in some of our country areas, the injustices occurring for our Indigenous brothers and sisters, and the homelessness of many of our citizens, while numerous houses and apartments remain empty. Despite these and the long list of other hope inhibitors, we are blessed by the good work of many people of hope who reach out to others. And while we see ourselves amongst those people who reach out to others, and we are here to form ourselves as enablers of hope and justice, I want to pause for a moment and just name, well, we're going to hear Frank Brennan this afternoon. I think we acknowledge him as an outstanding enabler of hope. But I would also like to acknowledge the work of Bridget Arthur in Kildare in Bass. I think all of you know how strong Bridget is in standing up to our members of Parliament, in attending and receiving so many invitations to speak about the plight of asylum seekers. Bridget gives me hope. On a recent visit to Melbourne, I arrived on a Saturday night, and I had actually driven down from Sydney on that occasion. Took a long route as well. But when I got there that night, I learnt that Bridget, having had a full day during the week, on that Saturday took 2 of her refugees up to just outside Wagga for an interview with potential people who were going to give them a job as welders. And I thought, that's not bad for someone who is into her 80s. So Bridget, you are an enabler of hope and an inspiration to us. Thank you. The symbol of light is central to our founding story, and it is absolutely essential and symbolic, it's meaningful, it's at the heart and the root of the 2 charisms that inspire Kildare Ministries. The flame strengthens our appreciation of the past, and it reminds us of the narrative that is continually being developed in Australia. It's the God within us, the flames of the God within us, and they burn bright for others to see. It's a dominant, lively element in the logo. And the cross, the sign of Christ, is nestled within and emerging from the flame. It leans up and right into a forward motion, a hopeful orientation, and it's future focused. The green, which is perhaps more obvious in the actual logo that's up there at the top, is a reminder of our Celtic origins, the presentation and Brigidine green of Ireland. So that's who we are to this moment. I'm now going to hand over to Rosemary to say the journey we have been on as well.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. It is great to be here with you, and I add my thanks to your efforts in getting here. For some of us, it might be a mental health day, but be that as it may, it is a good thing to be doing. So, just looking at what's been happening in the last couple of years, etc., since our last conference, I want to say first of all that the trustees are very proud of all our Kildare Ministries. Each of you is a source of goodness and hope. Each of you has had to adjust to a new governance structure of Kildare Ministries. And as trustees, we recognise that the journey has not always been easy, and we've been learning ourselves what this journey is about. Each of you in your ministry has committed to exploring further the meaning of both the presentation and Brigidine traditions and how these translate in the context of your own ministry and in the context of the unfolding Kildare Ministries narrative. So we ask ourselves, what will Kildare Ministries be known for in 20 years' time? Might be a long time ahead, and I'll be pushing up daisies, but this is my hope. Hope calls us to maintaining, sustaining and strengthening the preferential and compassionate care of the vulnerable, just as Nano and Bridget and Daniel did. It calls us to be people of justice in the face of prevailing norms, just as Jesus did. And in turn, this calls forth our courage, hope and hospitality. These are the hallmarks of who we are. We might adapt our recent NAIDOC theme to say, because of Jesus we can, but we're also very comfortable owning, because of her we can. And it's not to say that there won't be challenges, but we let the Jesus story both inspire and guide us. The trustees are proud of our boards and stewardship councils, very ably led by capable chairpersons. You too are people of hope and enablers of justice. Your wisdom, work and generosity assists our principals and managers in their daily work, and we're sure that in 20 years' time, your work will be seen in the strength of those communities as places of justice, compassion, hospitality and hope. The trustees are proud of the principals and managers who carry out the mission and the work on a daily basis. Thank you for that. You only have to read the Kildare Ministries newsletter to get a sense of what this work can be about. Leading a ministry, as we all know, is both joy-filled most days and complex, and there are some very difficult days. So we congratulate you as you traverse that territory every day. You are building a strong platform for those who follow you. We're proud of the staff of all of our ministries. Many of them are volunteers. They bring wisdom, care and hope to the people with whom they work, be they adults or the young people. And this is especially visible in our community ministries. I'm sort of consoled and thinking hope does spring eternal. And this is in the context of a seemingly mad world in which we live, a world which seems to be short on hope, justice and hospitality, to say the least, and big on individualism and consumerism. The trustees are very proud of and grateful for our mission and ministry team, Erica, Andrea and Jeff, for their daily work on behalf of the trustees, the boards, the colleges and the community works. They are very competently assisted by Monica and Podrick, the quiet achievers of the office. Their work in the areas of faith formation and administration is vital. And as we approach our 5th birthday, we can honestly say that the identity and strength of the work they do for the mission of Kildare Ministries is carried out with high standards of professionalism and a deep commitment to the vision, mission and values of Kildare Ministries. We can genuinely say they all have a heart for the mission, and I'd ask you to join me in acclaiming that. In the implementation of the goals of the trustees' current strategic intentions, we have been guided and advised by theologians and experts in a variety of areas in the last couple of years. 2017 was marked by the work we all did in the midst of the same-sex marriage debate, and this work brought comfort and understanding. In 20 years' time, we hope that KM will continue to be known for discerning the signs of the times in the context of our faith and our response in faith. In March of 2019, we'll celebrate our 5th anniversary, and I'm sure we'll start to hear more about that soon. The transfer of land rituals in 2018 has been an important milestone in the narrative of Kildare Ministries. While these rituals mark the generous transfer of land and governance from the Bridgetine and Presbyterian congregations, it has also been especially heartening to engage with our Indigenous communities in that process. We recognise our Indigenous peoples as the first stewards of this land, as we did this morning. We honour them and we undertake to speak with honesty about the Indigenous history of Australia. In many ways, it's like a whisper, a silent voice, about the sites of the recently declared 250 massacres, the violent dispossession of their land, the strategies to cause the disintegration of families, the violence to men, women and children, and the interminable drag about a treaty and constitutional recognition. The brushing aside of the Uluru Statement has wounded many, but we must have hope that there is a solution. And I think there has been some signs of that in the last couple of weeks. And so we ask, how will Kildare Ministries continue to speak about this issue with our First Nation peoples and act with justice? Who will continue to speak if we don't?
One answer to that is our community works. Our 3 community ministries are valued members of Kildare Ministries. They give voice, action and hope to asylum seekers and refugees, to families experiencing crises, and to women whose hope it is to make their new home in Australia. They also give voice to the inclusivity of our mission. We celebrate them with joy and gratitude, and we like to see the mutual relationships developing between the colleges and community works. Each enriches the other, and as an organisation we learn in a deeper way that how we together can be enablers of hospitality, hope, justice and compassion. Our secondary colleges are filled with young people of hope and looking to the future. It is tried to say that young people are our future and the future of the church. That's true. We have to ask, what are these young people hoping for? How do they see their place in the church, most especially? They are encouraged to speak out on issues, to take leadership roles, to think about the future, and especially the future of the planet. Will they be inspired by Laudate Si? Indeed, how can we all be inspired and engage with this most stimulating of writing? We have approximately 8,500 students in our schools, and it's growing, of course. They exist in difficult and sometimes confusing times. What do they think as they wonder what we are on about as a Catholic organisation? As elders of the tribe, I think we could all put our name to that almost. We have plenty to reflect upon too as we look over our shoulders. And we can ask ourselves the question, is this organisation a better place for its people because I have been a member of it? What would our answer be? And what would our students understand? We're well aware of the declining number in our churches, and it's about a set of complex factors and actions, and you know them. None of these being the sexual abuse scandals, the decline in moral authority of our churches and all our institutions, corruption in wider society, and a lack of care and compassion for the vulnerable amongst us. Dennis Fitzgerald of Catholic Social Services makes a statement that human flourishing cannot be done in splendid isolation. Kildare Ministries is about building inclusive communities now and the future. And we can do no other. If we say we are gospel people, we are called to stand tall and to act with courage, hope, justice, compassion and hospitality.
And in all of this, we owe the women of the Presentation and Brigidine congregations an enormous debt of gratitude. It is the hope of these congregations that the goodness, the good works, and the heritage of their traditions continues to be inspirational to the work of Kildare Ministries in Australia. Pope Francis has said that pastoral ministry seeks to abandon complacency. He invites everyone to be bold and creative in this task of rethinking goals, structure, styles, and methods of evangelisation in our respective communities. Kildare Ministries' formation program is striving to do this. Another image Pope Francis uses is that of shepherds and leaders, and that we need to have the smell of the sheep on us. As Kildare Ministry members, we've got to aim to become very smelly. I think we already are. As Kildare Ministries, another papal image is that the church is a field hospital that conjures up images of having the courage to be hospitable, to bind up wounds, and to give hope for a better life, to be compassionate to all. So I don't think Kildare Ministries will be put out of a job, ever, if we have that image in our mind. In a recent article in The Age by Ross Gittins, who referenced the social researcher Hugh Mackay, who has a new book called Australia Reimagined, Mackay laments 4 strategies that have in the past helped us deal with life's travails. And they are identified as the power of faith, which he describes as magical. I don't know about magical, I would say more about wonder there. The secret power of community, the restorative power of nature, and the therapeutic power of self-expression. And I think in the work we do, and in all of the ministries and through formation, we're trying to deal with those 4 things: the faith, community, the restorative power of nature, which we'll look at in more detail, and that therapeutic power of creative self-expression. I've got to do a bit about that. So it's time. It's time for the church to consider more life-giving engagement with her people. The voice of the lay people needs to be listened to. So many of us are ready and want to engage. The 8,500 students in our schools and the hundreds in our community ministries need this for the future. Laudate Si makes the point that each creature is an end in itself and is an expression of God's goodness, not something that is simply there to serve humanity. Everything we do is interrelated, just as all creatures are interrelated in the ecological system. The crucial insight is that care for the environment and care for the poor and marginalised must be seen as inseparable. Eco-justice and human justice must go hand in hand. Those kids in our ministries, all of us, deserve nothing than our leadership in this area, nothing more than that, nothing less than that, sorry. The Second Vatican Council reminds us that the Church has always had the duty of scrutinising the signs of the times and interpreting them in the light of the Gospel. Kildare Ministries is doing that. But let's do more of it together for better outcomes, because it is our hope and our anchor for the future. Thank you.